go, okay, hover your cursor over the image of my drawing table. And
There.
you
Let me
click,
do this.
and a little drop down menu comes up and it says pin and unpin. And you can pin the video and it will become large.
Yeah.
Okay. Now.
And that might make it easier to see everything.
Okay, video.
So I added a little bit of value to this area of light. And so we still have light and shadow. Now what we're going to do is create a highlight. And so we're going to make pretend that light is hitting one area more strongly. And so that's a highlight, and I can barely see it. So that means that I need to darken this more. Now I'm going to add the highlight. There we go. Now I can see it. So now I have two types of light. I have the light and I have the highlight. Okay, we're there. Now, there's in the area of the shadow, we're going to do the equivalent. We're going to create what's called a core shadow. So this is how you spell it, core shadow. So it's the exact opposite of the highlight. And it doesn't go all the way to the edge. It's going to be like a crescent moon. And it doesn't go all the way to the edge. So it has a different shape than the highlight, but it's the corresponding. It's the darker part of the shadow. Now I'm going to generally darken my whole ball. So we have transformed that circle into a sphere already. We've already created the illusion of a three-dimensional area with clearly defined boundaries, which is a volume. And so now what we want to do, and we could, if we spent more time, obviously, we could do it much nicer. But the important thing today is just to understand what these different types of light and shadow are. And so what we're going to be doing now is strengthening that illusion. Because we've created the illusion. It's now a ball. So we're going to strengthen it. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take a cast shadow. And that is the shadow cast by the object upon the surface on which it sits. And the darkest part of the shadow is going to be right at the bottom, right here. So this is going to be darker than the core shadow, right there. Because at that place where the ball is sitting on the table, no light can enter. So it's going to be super dark. And then depending on your light source, So you're gonna add the cast shadow. Now, cast shadows, like I said, the darkest part is right where the object sits on the table because no light can enter. And because the object is blocking the light, the shadow is always going to be darker near the object. And as the shadow gets further away, it's going to get lighter. So this is where you're going to be controlling density, just like you did with the colored pencils. You're going to be controlling the density of the pigment. So make it more dense near the ball and less dense away from the ball. We're going to continue strengthening the illusion of three-dimensional volume. And the thing about objects, about solid objects, is that they occupy space. And space, in space, it means something is close and another thing is far away. That's how we create the illusion of space. So we are now, if you have your ruler, you can use it, but if not, just use anything. It has to be higher than, I want you to draw a line very, very lightly on either side. And lightly is a key word here. But it has to be higher than the shadow because the shadows, this is now the edge of the table. And the shadow's hitting the table. So obviously the line cannot be lower than the shadow. But just by drawing that one line, I have established behind. And so that says that this ball is closer to me than the far edge of the table.
So you drew the lines from the light bulb. And so,
I'm sorry, what now?
oh, well, a minute ago, you drew a line,
Mm-hmm.
2 lines
Yeah.
from the light bulb. Okay, now why'd you do that? What were you showing? I missed that.
I was just finding out where the edge of the shadow was.
Oh, gosh, I missed it.
But the thing is that on the paper, you can't quite do it because my light bulb is not actually right here. My light bulb is like here.
Oh, so it's
My light bulb, so I have to imagine that, because if the light is, if it's just like at dusk, you know, at sunset, the sun is much lower, so then the shadow would be much longer, and the higher the light bulb, the smaller the shadow. Just like the noonday sun creates a very small shadow.
So the shadow hits the 2 lines as they pass the ball, right?
Yeah. So what I want you to do now is on the side of the ball, again, we're just strengthening this illusion. On the side of the ball that is the light side, and using the skills you've acquired so far in the semester, switching the direction of your mark making so that it shimmers like real space. Now we're drawing the space around the object. And it has to be darker than the object, because the only way we can make something look light is if it's next to a dark. So I'm going to darken the space around the object. And notice how I'm switching the direction of my marks so that I don't create one solid area of space. Instead, the areas of light and dark vary and recreate the illusion that space is shimmering. And I'm going to make it darkest right there, that little corner. Make it really dark. Notice how automatically the ball comes out. So it's amazing. And I call this drawing on the object by not drawing on the object. So I have strengthened the illusion that that ball is three-dimensional by drawing the space around it. And I don't remember who it was during the critique, but I suggested, I think it was Jasmine, and I suggested that you could darken, like your objects are really light, you could darken the space around them, and then they will appear even more solid. Okay, and now you want to do the opposite on the other side of the sphere. I want you to create an area of light. Well, it's going to be a shadow, but it's got to be lighter than the ball. So you have to be really careful about controlling the pressure on your drawing instrument. Don't lay down a whole lot of pressure. And if you need to, you can add more value to the sphere if you need to darken it. There we go. And the very last thing that I'm going to do is add value to the table itself. And if there was a striped tablecloth or a pattern, flowers, anything on that table, and you can draw it, you will strengthen the illusion of volume even more.